Hey everybody, and welcome to Anime for Life. Today's a video that I normally don't make, as it's a little bit out of my expertise. This is more along the lines of a channel like Hero Hey or something, but it's one that kind of struck a nerve, I guess, because I'm somebody who likes, you know, sideline writing. I'm a bit of a hobbyist writer, and I like history and things like that. And so I wanted to kind of do a take on this guy called uh, KD7BWB. And he's making a complaint of this series, and forgive me if I do not say this right, but it's Monster Musume no Oshasan, or Monster Girl Doctor in English. And as you can see, he makes this comment. This kind of scene describes why I won't watch this anime. The fact that this harpy is pretty is not the point. Harpies eat people. Fair enough. Doesn't seem all that bad. So why would I be all uppity frickin' Twitter over it? It doesn't seem all that offensive until you go down and start reading the comments. And he starts, you know, saying, as they said, it depends on. Oh, sorry, no, that's somebody else. He says, no, but hell no. Oh, goody. Look at dictionary, look it up. Constant is everything in writing. And if you look at the definitions again, we get a fairly solid theme. Even when description are used to define monsters, it still boils down to behavior, motivations, and disastrous action. But this anime is an isekai. It doesn't even take to transport a person from Earth to this fantasy world. And that brings us to continuing in a literary narrative. These authors had every right to provide continuing story datums, I believe that's pronounced, in such a way as to provide a complete canvas for their story terms. In other words, the authors could describe the fictional characters and name them, keeping all the references consistent with being someplace other than Earth. So, seems alright so far. But we don't get that here. They got lazy. They use terms like harpy and lamia and many other terms that come to us from Earth's human history in great antiquity. In this inserted context, either we use the whole term and its meaning, or we don't use the term at all. So this is where he's starting to get a little bit suspicious here. After all, the people of Greece and Macedonia and the Arab world use these terms as factual references over 1,000 years. This stands quite far from author's license. The authors were lazy, stupid, and do not give a tinker's damn about developing some kind of canvas. They just want to make a story that talks about pretty girls and a young doctor. They might get lucky. So in other words, you are not allowed to use the terms harpy and lamia and zombie or anything else that has mythological meaning in the real world unless they are literally using that definition in your story. And it's like this the whole way down. And eventually I make a comment, just trying to kind of understand. And I say, everybody knows that. It's like the Fate series taking the heroes of modern mythology and history. Everybody knows who they are, but that doesn't mean they are historically accurate. Francis Drake, Paul Bunyan, Jacques Dumoulin, Van Gogh, Kachisuke Hakasai, etc. weren't female. The old men of the mountain were never known the way they are portrayed in the game, at least not to my knowledge. Abigail Williams was not nearly as innocent as she is portrayed in the game. Charlotte Corday wasn't a self-deprecating person who thought she was useless. Elizabeth Bathory was never a phantom thief in her later years, nor was she a self-proclaimed idol and love-struck immature person with dragon features in her younger years. I could go on and on. It's simply a fictional take using a real basis to spark an interest in its views. And then here's his reply. You're not getting it. There's a right way to do fiction. This anime isn't it. And by the way, Miss Bathory was tried at royal court and convicted as a mass murderer, something I never even touched base on. And after dying in her noble husband's apartment in his castle under house arrest, a ship commissioned with her name on it was built, the HMS Bathory. History means things after all is said and done. Again, I never said it wasn't. Grow up and learn. This anime is a hideous effort and should never have been made. It could have been made into something useful and meaningful, and the authors did not care, and short circuited the whole idea of history meaning something. I will never watch this anime. And this was my reply to him. I never said Elizabeth wasn't a mass murderer. I said she was never a phantom thief, nor was she an idle, loving, lovesick, immature teenager with draconic features. I suggest you read over what I said again. It is very clear by her personality, her moveset, her noble phantasm, and her appearance that they made Carmilla, the adult version, when she was supposed to be the Blood Countess. Elizabeth is supposed to be take the spot of the immature version, that she was a mass murderer. Another example is Hercules having 12 lives. Hercules never had 12 lives. He did 12 labors, but never did he have 12 lives. He was simply given them in the show/visual novel as one life equals one labor. A series does not have to go by true mythology. Example, Medusa. She had snakes for her hair and a hideous appearance. In Fate, she is a beautiful woman who has absolutely no snake-like features whatsoever and is kind, courteous, with ninja-like fighting style, who uses hooks and chains to fight. The true Medusa never was anywhere close to that. However, Gorgon, on the other hand, represents the true to legend version. They even have a child version of Medusa just like Elizabeth Bathory. Yet all of these are not true to history or mythology. The game portrays them as separate entities when in truth they were singular. Just as I said in my last post, several true to history males are portrayed as females in the game or show. There's never a right or wrong way to do fiction. That's why it's called fiction. It can be whatever you want it to be. And then he replies, I don't need to read your lousy messages. If you want to do stream consciousness, do it with somebody else. The point you are making is an attempt to minimize the histories of things as if fiction might be more important in its own right. Nobody is saying that. In this particular case, though, that is not the case. Fiction has no right to screw up history. The authors of this anime are terrible at writing fantasy stories and need to try again. Plain and simple. To which my final reply, which he never got back to, was, it's called making a spin. You have no right to dictate what people can and can't write about what they do to make up the plot of a story. They are doing nothing to minimize the history of things. They are simply doing a what-if scenario. What if harpies weren't bloodthirsty monsters, but instead curious and affectionate to people who caught their fancy? What if zombies were smart and logical and not just brain-dead walking horror stories, etc.? What is so wrong with that? Nobody is denying their origins. They're merely doing a different take. That is basically what this guy is saying. He's saying you are not allowed to do anything regarding history if it is not literally factual to history. You are not allowed to write about it. You are not allowed to change it. You are not allowed to do whatsoever regarding history unless you are literally making a story that is 100% factual to history. If you want to be using harpies, vampires, zombies, whatever, they must be true to history or you are not allowed to use them. That is what he is saying. So what do you make of this? I think this is completely stupid. There'd be a lot of really, really bland stories and shows and novels out there if that was the case. Like, you would not have a lot of the best authors and mangas and stories and games if you were not allowed to make little switches in these sort of myths here and there. Like, I don't know what his problem is, that he would have such a hatred for this kind of series or take on what's the word I'm looking for? Deviation of history. Like the Francis Drake in Fate being a female instead of a male. Everybody knows Francis Drake is supposed to be male. And Blackbeard is not some frickin' weeb-otaku who's always looking for his cute female lollies. Everybody knows that. But in Fate, when they give it those little spins, that's what makes it interesting. Everybody knows that is not how history is. But because it's just that slight difference, like, hey, that's kind of funny, that's kind of fun, I'm going to give it an extra little look to see where this goes. But according to this guy, it's automatic trash because that's not the real Francis Drake. That's not the real Blackbeard. So it has to be trash because it's not true to history. So, and I'm a history buff myself. I love history. By playing the Fate games and watching stuff like Monster Musume and things like that, it's gotten me to look more into these legends. I have learned more from history, or more about history, from playing the Fate series than I have ever learned in history class. Like, I never would have known who Charlotte Corday was, or Hassani Sabah, or Jacques de Molay, or any of those people until I played the Fate series. But according to him, because it's got that little deviation in history, that it's trash. It should not exist. It should be illegal. And everybody in this comment section is pointing those things out and trying to see reason. And he's just incredibly rude. And he's almost like dictatorship, like fanatical about this. But what do you guys think? Do you think there should be no deviation, or like, do you think his logic is sound, or do you find flaws in it? Like, do you think it's completely wrong, or do you kind of see a middle ground? Do you see where he's coming from, but still think, yeah, maybe he's a little too much on the fanatical side, but you can still see where he's coming from, or what? Like, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. I just thought I would make this a quick little video. I know it's not my usual thing. This is usually the stuff that like Hero Hay covers. He's more the news kind of channel. But don't go looking for this guy, right? Don't go hassling him. It's just his views, right? That's, if he wants to read manga, watch shows, play games, whatever, that are straight to his history fact, let him, right? That's what he likes. Let him. He could have come off a little more polite and friendly, but whatever. Just leave him alone if that's the case. But I think I'll leave it here. You can leave your comments and opinions and thoughts. Maybe like, subscribe. That really helps me out. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Leave your comments and opinions on this. And till then, keep an like anime and anime for life.